Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and we're coming to you live tonight from Watkins, Glen for round 4, and I'd like to welcome to the combox tonight Chan Wee Han. How you going, and are you ready for tonight's action?
Hey Bernie, yeah, I'm ready for tonight because we are at Watkins Glen, of course, one of the best tracks in the service, and of course I'm looking forward.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely brilliant tonight. The guys have definitely been turning on the action in the last couple of weeks, and it's definitely a series that's very enjoyable to call at the moment. We've got 19 drivers out there at the moment. They just started their qualifying, which we're going to get to very, very shortly. But a bit of interest was in the way they practiced, and it was Craig Edwards that was the fastest in practice, and Gary Hamilton second fastest. So we'll keep an eye on them to see how they go. Alex McKellar here also, he was the fourth fastest, I think, third fastest in practice, so he's looking pretty competitive tonight.
Yes, does look like quite a competitive lineup we have tonight, with of course lap times from within a margin of 2 seconds from 140 to 141.
Yeah, there's nothing in it, and it's going to be once again close racing, which is what this series is all about. Because if we have a look at the series, basically it's designed for close racing, so it's a fixed setup series. The Trent Thomas, the organiser, he actually releases a setup a few days before the race. He also lets them know the weather, so the weather is fixed. So tonight it is partly cloudy afternoon, and the track state 80%. Incidents tonight, they have 20, so we'll keep an eye on that. We have seen some drivers disqualified when they reach that limit, so we'll see if that occurs tonight. As far as the actual racing goes here tonight, we've got 19 laps around Watkins Glen International, and the total distance of the race 50 kilometres. Now they're going to have to do a pit stop. It's mandatory, but it's fuel that's mandatory, but not tyres, and generally in this series they don't take tyres, so we'll keep an eye on that as the action unfolds.
Sure we will, and so trying to get over my jet lag.
Yeah, if you're wondering folks, Chan Wee Han has just got back from India, is that correct? You were in China for a bit, came back for a bit to Singapore, and now took off to India, so you've been jet setting around the place quite a bit.
Yes, I have, and it's been really fun, but I'm still trying to get back onto this commentary tonight in this race. A lot of things that I have to get back on, but of course we have the qualifying. We have the fastest lap time by Juha Noralampi at 1 minute 41.2.
Yeah, so looking at your qualifying standings, folks, before we get into the point score, you are Noralampi, 141.209. We've got Scott Newton at the moment, second fastest with a 141.342. Christopher Oon, third fastest, 141.531. Now Gary Hamilton down there in fourth. You can see him on the screen with the 141.534, and Trent Thomas fifth fastest with the 141.543. So at the moment Craig Edwards is nowhere to be seen in the top 10. I'm just having a look for him now. He's actually out on track, and he will be setting a time, so we're going to actually follow him, and we can just see what his quality time is. As we can see now, he's sitting in 18th. It's a 1 minute 20 so far, as he's coming into the final, I guess you could call it chicane, I guess you could say. Final last couple of corners. Now he's onto the last corner here, up onto the straight. We'll see what sort of time he can set here, Chan Wee Han, and here he comes now. It's looking a bit slow. 141.429 takes him up to fourth.
Yep, he's just dropped to fifth. Of course, with I think another driver, Tim Delisle, moving up to third with 1 minute 41.199.
Yeah, so Tim Delisle, he's another one we'll keep an eye on tonight, folks. He's fast, and he's showing his pace once more out there. But let's have a look at our point score. So at the moment, Craig Edwards is leading, and he's leading Gary Hamilton by 19 points. But Gary Hamilton, he's jumped up 4 positions since last week, so he's looking really strong. Tim Delisle up 1 position into 3rd. He's 8 points behind Gary at the moment, and 27 points behind the lead. Then we have Christopher Oon sitting in 4th at the moment. He's jumped 3 positions last week. So he's 42 points behind the lead, 15 points behind Tim Delisle. And then Ewan Noralampi up, he's dropped 2 positions. So Ewan had a fairly bad run. He was actually on his lid last week at Suzuka. And if you missed that race, have a look. It was very, very eventful. And he actually rolled his open wheeler and put him out of contention pretty much. So he's dropped 2 positions. He's 5 points behind, he's 15 points behind Christopher Oon, and he is 52 points behind the championship. So that's your top 5. So, and of course, I'd like to welcome everyone in the chat room tonight. We can see quite a lot of them out there having a chat about who their favourite is tonight, and I might get them to, at the moment, having a look. It's Gary Hamilton's looking pretty one of the favourites. Alex McKellar has also been mentioned, and of course Alex will be broadcasting live tonight, and you can bring that up on Twitch, twitch.tv/TopSplitTV, and you can see all the action of Alex and from his cockpit. So bring it up, do a bit of a simulcast here, folks, and enjoy the broadcast as well as enjoy the footage that Alex McKellar will be showing you on the Top Split TV Twitch channel tonight.
Yes, it does look like the viewers have quite a lot of support for Alex McKellar tonight, but having a look at the lap times, I think the gap between first and second, Scott and Gary, is just 4 thousandths of a second. Have a look at that.
Yeah, so it's crazy, isn't it? 140.996 compared to the 141 dead. So we can see Gary Hamilton now coming around the top last corner here at Watkins Glen. Let's see what he's going to do. He did a 141.258, so he did not improve, but he's still sitting there in second now. His 4 laps are up. So the next one to keep an eye on, Tim Delisle. This is his last qualifier. So let's see if he can improve. He's going for a 141 dead. No, yes, a 149.19. Look at that. 4 thousandths of a second between Scott Newton and Tim Delisle.
Yes, and that puts him up to second place. Of course, we are also 6 tenths or 7 tenths behind first place to the Scott Newton.
So is that 6 tenths or is that 6 thousandths?
6,000, sorry. I've not been able to see properly. So yes, Scott has a time of 9:11 and Tim has a time of 9:18.
Yeah, so the people that have finished their qualifying, folks: Scott Newton, Tim Delisle, Gary Hamilton, Ewan Noralampi's finished, Trent Thomas, he has also finished, ranked in 5th. We've got Craig Edwards though. This guy, he's the dark horse here. He's only done 3 laps. He's qualified at the moment in 6th. We know he's capable of more than that. So we'll keep an eye on him. He's got 2 more, he's on his last flying lap now. AJ Bear, he's also on his last flying lap. Well, he's got out of the car, so I think he's happy with his quali, and we can see now qualifying's over. So let's have a look at the final positions here, Weehan, and we'll go through the grid.
Certainly, of course, in first and second we have Scott Newton in first, starting from pole, as well as Tim Delisle starting from second. Just 6 or 7 thousandths of a second between them. Then in third we have a favorite Gary Hamilton, as well as in fourth we have Ewan Noralampi. Fifth and sixth we have a series organizer Trent Thomas, as well as Craig Edwards. Then in seventh we have Christopher Oon, as well as AJ Bear in 8th. 9th we have Joseph Falcomata. 10th we have Luke Emerton, as well as in 11th and 12th we have Josh Burden, as well as Jason Warren.
Yeah, now to 13th tonight, folks, is Brock Kramer. Then we've got Alex McCullough down there in 14th position with quite a bit of work to do there. Scott Party, he'll start out of 15th with Les Peck out of 16th position. And then we've got David Pegler starting in 17th, 18th Hakon Grebstad, 19th is Tim Awima, and that's our field of 19, folks. But also a shout out here to Luke Emerton. He is our in-car reporter tonight. You normally see him calling the action, but tonight we've put him in the car. So a couple of the exciting people to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on Josh Burden, Joseph Falcamada. These two came together on the last corner of last race. They've two very exciting races, and they don't give each other a lot of room, and extremely competitive. So we'll keep an eye on their progress tonight as well. But we're just now waiting for starters' orders. We can see them now starting to raise their revs, and we should be green here at Watkins Glen. We are green, and we're underway. We better bring that up. 19 laps remaining, folks. One mandatory pit stop. Nice clean start there. Having a look, Gary Hamilton, he was a bit slow off the line. He's settled into second. Tim Delisle right behind him, but at the moment our leader is Scott Newton. So it's Scott Newton followed by Gary Hamilton, Tim Delisle, Craig Edwards. He's sitting in fourth. Then we've got Ewan Norolampi. He's now coming under pressure from Christopher Oon. They'll get the toe up the back straight here. Remember, there's no chicane or bus stop here, so they'll race straight down into the I don't know what you call it,
the carousel.
The carousel. Then there you go, Gary Hamilton around the outside of Scott Newton. Now Tim Delisle, where's he? Third at the moment. Currently no accidents, so a nice clean start here at Watkins Glen.
Of course, an absolutely nice start there by Scott Newton as well as Gary Hamilton. Of course, they're now heading into the boot section with who's in the lead? Gary Hamilton in the lead with Scott trailing behind him.
Yeah, and we're looking out the back of Ewan Norolampi here. Here comes Christopher Oon on the outside. This generally doesn't work too wide into here. What are they going to do? And yeah, Christopher tucks back in. That was a wise move. If he had got hung out there, he would have dropped a position for sure.
Let's have a look at this corner. It's quite off camber, of course. Nicely through this corner as they head up to the second to last corner.
Yeah, we can see as the field's coming through down here, we've got further down Luke Emerton currently sitting in 12th. He's got Alex McCullough behind him in 13th, so Alex has moved up a position. Scott Party is behind him, Jason Warren. Then Hakon Grebstad, he's down the other end of the field. We're used to seeing him up at the top end in the skippies, but he's just getting used to this car. Les Peck 17th, David Pegler 18th, Tim Awima, he's sitting in 19th position. So once again, they're coming up onto the back straight towards a carousel. Once again, Scott Newton goes on the outside. We're going to see a lot of this draft action tonight, pretty much guaranteed every lap. But now Scott Newton's got in front of Craig Edwards second. So Craig's come through. Gary Hamilton, he's dropped down to third. And Tim Delisle down to fourth.
Of course, this looks like an absolutely crazy forward battle going on here as four of them are heading into the boot section for the second time of this race.
Yeah, and we're riding with Tim Delisle at the moment. Dropped two positions. Gary went wide there. I think he didn't have much of a choice because Craig Edwards was on the inside, but we'll see what Gary's doing. He's having a look on the inside now. I think this is a heel section. Is that what they call it? The heel and toe? Let's bring up the track map so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course, Gary trying to get a slipstream out there, but not really made it. Of course, they're now heading to this corner, tricky one, no camber.
Yeah, this is pretty tricky here, isn't it? Let's have a look though, because the Pro Mazda's huge amount of downforce, and if we have a look, he's taking this in fifth gear as Gary Hamilton's now going straight to the pits, and that is for his time stop. So let's see what sort of a time he does, because that's going to set the tempo for the rest of them. So I've forgotten what I was going to say. So Scott, there you go, it's spreading here. Craig Edwards now second. He's got the toe now. It's interesting, the top four are starting to get a bit of a gap now on Ewan Norolampi and Trent Thomas right behind him, so they won't want to let him go. If they drop a second, they're out of that slipstream and they won't see them for the rest of the night.
Yes, I wouldn't reckon that. Of course, now having a look at Christopher Oon, of course, four of them, the top four, heading into the boot section for the third time. Great driving there into the section. Of course, I think the cars are starting to get a bit tighter together.
Yeah, the top four at the moment, you can't throw much over them, but we were expecting this, weren't we? Because from first, second and third, they were all separated by about 9 thousandths of a second between them. And that is definitely playing out now up the front. So Craig Edwards is still leading the four here. They're settling into a bit of a groove, and at the moment you can see Ewa, he's probably about 4 car lengths behind, and we'll actually get a split once they come across the line.
Yes, of course, as they're heading to the second to last corner again, starting to spread out by a slight bit into the last corner. Looking all good actually, and Tim actually turns in for his pit stop.
Yeah, so the pit stops are starting a few. It's interesting, some of them have started very, very early on the stops, and of course the pit window is opened once the green light's up. So the guys that have stopped at the moment, Gary Hamilton sitting down there in 16th position, he set a pits time of 10 seconds. Then we have Tim Awima, he's also come in and done his stop, 6.3 seconds, so we'll have to make sure he hasn't underfilled. A couple of the guys have had to be towed. That was Les Peck and Hakon Grebstad. Both had to get those cars towed, and Hakon, he's still in the pits. I think we'll try and get a view of his car, because I would say he's getting it repaired at the moment.
Yes, his front wing looks to be slightly damaged from possible contact.
Yeah, and I'm just going back now to see if we can find out exactly what went on here. The first one we're going to have a look at is Les Peck, and this happened on lap 1. So we'll see what's going on here and see what eventuated. He's racing, I'm just trying to get a number of the car. The Royal Crown Cola is right behind him. Oh, there he goes into the fence hard, and I tell you what, the barriers did their job, and man did he go in hard. He actually went in so hard he got stuck in the tyre barrier.
Oh, that looks terrible. Quite a terrible incident over there.
Yeah, and we're going to go and have a different view of this, and then we'll get back to the action, folks, because it really let loose very quickly for Les. He didn't have much time to react at all, and we can see in the super slow-mo he turned in, he went up on the ripple strip, lost all downforce, and straight into the wall. So that is the car 51, Les Peck. He was in the top 15 at that time. And that happened on lap 1, Weehan.
Yes, just having a look at that. Wow, that looked like a tough one, because he mounted onto the curb and just lost all balance from there, just swung straight into the barriers.
Yeah, these cars are pretty stiffly sprung, and one thing they don't like is riding the curbs like that, but it goes to show how quickly things can go pear-shaped in these cars. They're extremely quick, but at the moment Craig Edwards, he's still leading Scott Newton. Christopher Oon is second. Now Ewan Norolampi has managed to bridge that gap. Ewan's from Finland, of course, and it's becoming a battle pack now of 6 drivers. And where's Brock Kramer? I think it goes right back. Brock Kramer's involved trying to breach that gap with AJ Bear. Then we've got Joseph Falcomata, he's in 8th. Josh Burton behind him in 9th. And then you can see Alex McCullough, he's sitting in 10th, and he's off the back at the moment.
Of course, a great jump by Alex from 14th to 10th as he is now. Of course, he still has quite a big gap in front of him that he has to make up.
Yeah, and we'll see how these pit stops go. So at the moment, the other drivers that have stopped, folks, Tim Delisle, 12 seconds he stopped. Luke Emerton, our in-car reporter, 11.2 seconds, and Scott Pardy right behind him, 11.3 seconds. It's actually quite good these two are together, because they might be able to help draft each other up here if they don't battle. So currently we've had 5 cars do their pit stop. We can see Alex McCullough now. He is in the stop, taking, let's get rid of that, and 10.56 seconds. Very quick stop for Alex, and he'll come back out in around about 14th position, but there'll be more to stop.
Of course, quite an interesting strategy that they're playing here, having a pit stop right this early into the race.
Yeah, well, the thing is they have to make a stop, so some of these guys would have probably run light at the start and chosen now to fill to the end. Others will probably have run, generally you see them run 50% distance, and then you also get a few that'll do a very late stop. But at the moment it looks like the early stop is the way a lot of these drivers are calling it, as now we can see Christopher Oon on the back of Craig Edwards.
Of course, Christopher at the back of Craig Edwards. Are they sitting in 3rd or 4th?
Yeah, Christopher's in 3rd, and he's right on the case of Craig Edwards. Now they're coming into the final corner. Let's see if any of them choose to go in. No, they stay out. So we can also see now Scott Newton. He's actually coming up to lap. I think that could be, yes it is, it's Hakon Grebstad. He's coming up to put him a lap down. We've only been racing here for 6 laps, folks, so this is a pace. Already they're looking at putting the last car down 1 lap.
Of course, Scott being a driver himself, he's absolutely fast, and I think he's doing quite a great job great job today as he makes his move on Hakon.
Yeah, and Hakon won't fight that. He's a very experienced driver. He gets out of the way there, lets the top 4 through, tucks back in. But now Scott Newton on the outside of, that's Craig Edwards on the outside of Scott Newton. Sorry, Craig takes a position. Christopher Oon, he's having a look in the Simgear sponsored car and got pretty close there. We can see Ewanora Lampy's next with Trent Thomas just clearing Hakon now, and then of course Brock Kramer will come through. Hakon keeps it wide and lets him through, nearly runs on the grass there, he went so wide, and an AJ Bears passed.
Yes, absolutely, quite a lot of exchange of positions going on at this part of the track.
Yeah, and you'll find Weehan, as the racing goes along, they normally get more intense. As we're looking out the back of the gearbox cam, watch when he goes down, just lifts off a bit. Let's see if we get the flame. Could almost roast a marshmallow on that flame. So once again they go through to complete yet another lap, and I'm just having a look. No one else has gone to the pits. Yes, there is one person in the pits. I'm trying to work out which car that is. I might get you to see if you can work out which car's just taken to the pits there, Weehan.
Yes, I think it's a car of Les Peck.
Okay. So we can see now Scott Newton. It's interesting here. Christopher Oon's trying to make a move. He's threading the needle here. He has got up to 2nd, but now Craig Edwards is going back in. What's he going to do here? He was boxed in. He's trying to go around the outside here. Craig Edwards on the inside. Christopher should have the run. He does. But look at Ewanora Lampy. He's now starting to climb on the back of Craig Edwards. And all of a sudden we've got a battle pack here, folks, of 4 to 5 cars.
Certainly a good move by Christopher. Sorry, not a good move. An attempt by Christopher. Of course, he's not been able to make a pass on Scott, and now he sits in 2nd.
Yeah, and we're riding with the race organiser Trent Thomas here from Fusion Sim Racing. Put a wheel up there on the ripple strip, and fortunately it didn't upset the car too much. And once again you can just see how close they go to the outside there, as all of a sudden Ewa ran really wide, and look how quickly you lose a position around here if you just make one little mistake.
Yeah, but absolutely close move there, but and there's contact between Juha and the car of Which car is it?
Yeah, that was Brock Kramer, and Ewer is in a lot of strife here. He's got a lot of damage, and he's sitting in quite a precarious thing. He's trying to get it off the racing line. He has now. Let's have a look at this in super slow-mo and just unravel what has gone on here. So keep an eye on Brock Kramer, the number 27 car, as they come in. He took the inside. He did have quite a bit of an overlap, but it was a... we might go back and get a different view on this if we can, because it looked to me like it was a bit of netcode involved, but let's have another look. And then he got hit again. That's what broke his suspension, folks. And my goodness, there's cars going everywhere down there. The car that did hit him went straight into the pits, and I think that might have been Hakon.
Oh, that looked absolutely crazy.
So we're actually going to go to super slow-mo on the gyro cam. This will be the last time we look at it, folks, and then we'll get straight on to the action once more. As you can see there, that's where he ran wide. We're riding with Brock Kramer now, and we'll stay on the gyro cam here. So we can have a look on here. Ewer's turned in, and Brock's there. Now, there was a very slight contact, but it was more, slight contact into the pod by the looks of it. And then we can see there Ewer going around. I tell you what, he was lucky that he didn't get drilled harder than what he did, because he was right on that racing line.
Well, it would have been difficult for him to be avoided. Of course, he was right square at the middle of the racing line where most cars will usually pass at that section.
Yeah, so, of course, because Ewer's coming from Finland, one thing he has commented on is the problem he does have with netcode because of the high ping he's got coming to the Australian servers. And once again tonight, that was the case. It happened last week with himself and Scott Newton. And as I said, he ended up on his lid. So Ewer will not be happy with this result once again tonight. But... that's racing, I guess you could say. Looking at the pit stops now, folks, they've all stopped except for Trent Thomas, Brock Kramer, AJ Bear. Scott Newton is the leader once everyone stops. Scott Pardy, I'm a bit worried about Scott. He did a 2-second stop. And, I think he's going to have underfilled it. Now, we've also got Luke Emerton in the comm-box with us. Luke, not good news. It looks like your car is in a lot of strife at the moment.
Yeah, Bernie, how you going, buddy? Not as exactly planned. Bended in the third last corner. Just got loose, and as we've seen in the series, very hard to catch it. Just all by myself. Put the right side into the tyre barrier, managed to get it back to the pits, and in my hurry to uncheck all the fuel and tyres, I hadn't rechecked the quick repair, and it wouldn't let me do it once I pitted. So I've got about 10 minutes of repairs, so I'm pretty much done for the night.
Yeah, I can see that your car's at an interesting angle there. They've got it up on 2 wheels. What's that about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the entire right side wishbone assembly on both front and rear is absolutely compact. So yeah, good luck to them trying to get that fixed.
Yeah, they're not going to get that fixed. We're looking at the gyro cam here, and you've got two left wheels sticking up in the air, and it looks like it just wants to go to bed. But tell us your thoughts as we're looking at 9 laps remaining. Tell us your thoughts about what it's like racing in this class, in this car.
Yeah, the first couple of laps was absolutely frantic, as you would have seen. Not used to such close racing straight off the bat. I had a good start and just got caught right in the mid-pack there, and it's just, you can't fight this draft, especially on the back straight. It's not so much getting around someone, it's actually being able to pull away, because the very next lap they'll just catch you and go back around you. But yeah, it's really, really good. The boys are giving it some good room, like racing room, and like, you know, a lot of us went too wide through that first whole lap pretty much, and no contact. So yeah, it's really good, and just unfortunate that there's been a few incidents tonight I've seen, as well as like jumped out of the car, and also just myself losing it. Just lack of talent there.
Yeah, well, I think it would take quite a bit of time to get used to this sort of a car, because as you've found, extremely high downforce. And I think you were commenting about that last night to me, about how much downforce these things have. And can you give the viewers a bit of an idea about what it's exactly like when you get into one of these cars?
Yeah, so normally most of the stuff I'm used to racing, say a V8 Suzuka or GT3, you've got to do a significant more amount of braking and stuff before you turn the car in. But somewhere around here, especially in these Star Mazdas, I think it's about 85% nearly you'd be on full throttle around this track. Even coming off that back straight where you're topping about 225, you just turn the car in, and you're not lifting till probably mid-corner, and even then you're only lifting about quarter throttle around that carousel, and then you're straight back on the throttle like full throttle. So in comparison to say a V8 Supercar or a GT3, you'd be braking pretty hard at the 150 to 100 metre going into there, and at least dropping one gear to be able to make that carousel without running wide. So yeah, they're just unbelievable downforce, and the amount of toe that you get off the front of one of these things, they create a fairly large hole even for such a small car. You can just pull into that toe, and it's very, very hard to see anyone braking it. That's why we see such good pack racing around here.
Yeah, and while you were talking about that, we're actually with Christopher Oon in the cockpit there as he came to the carousel. He was drafting Craig Edwards, so he lifted a little bit, but it was interesting because they peaked out at about 219 kilometres an hour in the toe, maybe 220. He didn't go down a gear, so he hit it in fifth. His speed through the carousel was 202 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous, and I even found myself, especially in those first couple of laps when we had a big group of cars nose to tail, you're actually having to lift through the first section of corners there up through the S's, just to avoid hitting the guy behind, because you're just getting sucked into his gearbox so quickly without you even realising. So yeah, it's especially as well turn one here, if you don't get it right, you can lose a lot of time, and it really affects your run up onto the back straight. And I found losing a lot of time in there, especially during qualifying with the solo laps. If you just get the first corner slightly wrong, you can really cost yourself nearly half a second there.
Wow. I'm just having a look at this, folks. We're looking at the top three here. Gary Hamilton threading the needle between Scott Newton and Trent Thomas here. Now, Scott Newton, he tucks into second. Trent Thomas, he's down to third, so dropped 2 positions just on the back straight there. Now, all the guys have pitted, folks, so it's now a race to the end. And the Pro Mazda series, it's a fixed setup series here, and it's turning it on once again. Weehan, we've got you in the comm box as well, mate, and have you been keeping a close eye on this action?
Yes, I've been having a look at Christopher Oon's car, and man, they are crazy. The competition has been tight up to this point. Of course, you saw just now 3 wide into the carousel.
Yeah, did you see the way Gary Hamilton threaded the needle? I'll tell you what, great driving by all 3 guys there, but we've also got Craig Edwards and Christopher Oon, Luke, also in this battle pack. And like we saw last week, it's a battle pack of about 5 cars.
Yeah, and it tends to get like that, especially with the draft. It's if the front boys are kind of battling like we saw 3 wide there, it allows the 2 guys behind to work together and catch up to this group. But yeah, it should be interesting for the last couple of laps here. I don't think you'll see these guys separate the whole time, but I'm going to jet off, Bernie. I'm going to go back down and try and plead with the team boss to maybe let me race again next week, even though I've pretty much totaled this car. I might have to get on the tools and fix it up for him.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it's at a 45-degree angle at the moment, mate. So if you can get into that car, you might need to strap yourself in because it's on a big, big tilt. But go back and see if you can beg them. Might have to jump on the tools yourself, and hopefully you can get that car out to finish the race.
No worries, Bernie, and thanks a lot, and have a good call for the rest of the night. I'll talk to you next week.
Not a problem. See you next week, mate. So getting back to the action here, folks, we've got Scott Newton defending from Gary Hamilton. Christopher Oon's now up to 3rd position after that draft. Craig Edwards 4th. Trent Thomas, he's dropped down to 5th. He was our leader 2 laps ago, and all of a sudden he's finding himself losing quite a few positions here due to the slipstream. But now Gary Hamilton has a look on the inside, ducks back in, and it's just a matter of time, I think, till Gary pounces.
Yes, it is. Of course, the driving has been, the competition in the top 5 has been really tied up to this point. And which car are we riding on? Riding on Trent Thomas, I am. Looks to be a tight battle that may come up at the straight.
Yeah, and Trent Thomas is back here. We're on with Gary Hamilton here. We'll stick with him, and we'll see what he does. He's having a look on the inside of turn 1. He's going to tuck in here, get a great run off here. He's going to have to keep an eye on Christopher Oon to make sure he doesn't get past there. But now look at the draft already into effect as they come up onto the back straight. Already the draft's there, and look straight to the outside. He's gathered him up. Now the question is, Weehan, what's Christopher gonna do? He's slingshotting both of them once again, 3 wide down towards the carousel. We can see the number 10, number 28. That is Trent Thomas and Craig Edwards, both from Fusion Sim Racing, trying to work a way around there. Trent went wide, and here they go once again, 2 wide. It's great racing.
Man, it's absolutely amazing, this part of the circuit. And of course, they're now heading into the boot section again. Let's see what they have in store for us.
Yeah, so was that the toe they went through up to the heel now? Or is it the toe they're coming up to?
As they're going up to the toe, of course, Craig Edwards taking the inside from Trent Thomas, and he's now up to 4th. Well, it looks like the car of Scott Newton has gone a bit slidey there, as we see Craig Edwards taking the outside. No, he doesn't take the outside. He goes back inside, back to the circuit.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try an undercut there. He's all over the back now of Scott Newton, and we saw that before. It was one slight mistake, and they're all over the back of you. Now Craig, he's going to be keen to clear Scott, because already he's on the inside here, turn 1. He knows he has to clear him because of the front 2. That's Gary Hamilton, Christopher Oon. They're starting to get that gap. Once they get a bit of that gap, it's hard to get them back in, as Scott goes really wide across the grass, and Craig is definitely going to pass him up here.
Certainly, Craig getting a good slipstream up the back of Scott Newton as he goes ever so closely. He goes closer, he does take the inside or outside. He takes the outside, he takes the left. And let's see as they go up to the carousel. Yes, Craig moves up to 3rd.
Yeah, and he cuts straight across the nose there of Scott, just to let him know Scott's coming back at him on the outside, but Craig will be able to defend this. He does. What's Trent Thomas doing? He's tucked in, trying an over-under here with Scott Newton. Scott's now back on the outside. What's he going to do? Another over-under. Let's see if he backs off early and tries it. He's being held on the outside there by Craig Edwards, 2 wide once again as they come up to the toe section. Scott Newton, what a run. He's just gone around the outside and said, thank you very much, that's my position.
Yeah, Scott Newton, absolutely amazing driving by him. Of course, he lost the 3rd position to him just a half a lap ago, and now he's got it back as they head to this corner without a camber, with a negative camber. Tricky section, and they've made it past it.
Yeah, so 4 laps to go here, folks. It's now time. Tell us who you think is going to take the win here. And the guys in the chat room, if you have any pick, now's your time. 4 laps remaining, then bets are closed. Not that there are bets. So once again, we saw Gary Hamilton. He went onto the inside there. Scott Newton followed him. Gary's just trying to break that slipstream. And once again, who was that? Trent Thomas. He got airborne, would you believe, coming off turn 1 when he hit the grass.
Man, that's some crazy driving, of course, over the turn 1 complex.
Yeah, and for the folks that are a fan of Alex McKellar, he's up to 9th now. You can see just ahead of him Tim Delisle and Josh Burden here. They're battling for 7th and 8th position as they go 2 wide down here. So we've got Tim Delisle, Josh Burden. They're catching Brock Kramer. Tim Delisle takes the inside. Alex McKellar, he was having a look on Josh. he thought better of it, and he's defending against AJ Bear. So we've got some big names down here, and once again Alex has a look on the inside. He's having quite a fun race once again tonight, sitting in ninth.
Of course, Team Delisle getting the best of it out of the corner, and of course now Brock Kramer takes a look at the inside. Does he contact? No contact so far. Great driving.
Yeah, and once again we can see Josh Burden now onto the inside. He's got his teammate, the 27, that's Brock Kramer, on the outside of him. Almost 3 wide, they throw it in 3 wide there. Great driving, I tell you what, I thought there was going to be contact. Tim Delisle, he got hung out there, but Brock Kramer threw it in, and now they're still 2 wide here as they run into the second last corner, and Alex is in the box seat here, so the folks watching the top split Twitch stream will probably be getting a fantastic view of this battle tonight.
Of course, a fantastic view of the battle right now. Man, this is crazy, especially at this part of the grid. Of course, drivers being so professional, you see how they made the moves there. They're able to just squeeze every single bit of performance, try to make the move without actually crashing.
Yeah, exactly right. And right down here, there's great racing to be had. But we're going to jump back up to the pointy end now, folks, and we will stay there till the end of tonight's race, and then we'll jump back to this. As just hang on a minute, what's Tim doing now? Tim's on the inside of Brock and Josh. I tell you what, I'm getting that feeling that something's going to happen back here as I go 3 wide. Alex is having a look on the inside. He tucks back in, and I don't know about this, if it's going to get interesting or what.
Well, but what we're sure of is that Josh has got the best of it out of that corner. Again, of course, he took the outside and just sliced it off there. Of course, now we're heading to the heel section. Team Delisle try to get a gate on Josh.
Yeah, so we're back up the front now. We've got 2 laps remaining, almost the last lap. So I've got Scott Newton leading, Craig Edwards, Gary Hamilton in third, but he's defending now against Trent Thomas. Christopher Oon, he's dropped off the back a bit, so we'll see if he can pull it in under tow. But Trent Thomas now having a look on the back of Gary Hamilton, and we're down to the last lap here.
Yes, we are down to the last lap, riding on Christopher Oon as we have a good view of the top 4 battling it close, ever so closely.
Having a look in the chat channel, folks, the favourite amongst them, well, we've had one person vote, but he's voting for Gary Hamilton. As we see now, coming up the back stretch here, he's going to have to make the move on Craig Edwards. He's going to look on the outside once again. Can he get enough tow to get Scott Newton at the same time? Here comes a number 10, Trent Thomas, 3 wide up the back straight. Craig Edwards, he cuts the nose off. Gary Hamilton on the inside, throws it in at the carousel, and he had nowhere to go there, lost a lot of momentum. We have around the outside now Trent Thomas, 2 wide once again. Christopher Oon on the back of this, not having anywhere to run, but Craig Edwards now taking the lead from Scott Newton. We saw Scott going on the outside. Can he do it once more, or is this going to be the finish? Gary Hamilton now up to third and defending against Trent Thomas.
Of course, Trent Thomas having a look at the left of Gary Hamilton as they head into this heel corner. Great driving by them.
Yeah, Craig Edwards threw it in there. Scott Newton almost contact, 2 wide once more. Scott's not going to lay over. Here comes Gary Hamilton on the outside here. He's taken Trent Thomas with him. Scott got a bit crossed up there. He's lost his momentum. He's a sitting duck at the moment. Gary Hamilton up to second. What can he do? I don't think he's going to catch Craig Edwards as they come across the line. What's Trent Thomas? Into the wall goes Trent Thomas, and that's going to cost him.
And then, yes, that contact just cost him a 4th place. Of course, his time difference behind the 4th place driver is just a few tenths of a second. Of course, crazy driving by Trent.
Yeah, and we're going to jump back to 6th, 7th and 8th and follow them for that last lap, because the reason I want to do that is there was some sort of problem here. Just Tim Delisle, I think, may have been involved in an incident here with the number 4. Let's jump forward and just have a look at this. So we're watching Tim Delisle now on the number 4. That's Josh Burden. and Tim Delisle on the outside, Josh on the inside. What's going to happen here? No contact yet, but they do finish behind Alex as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong here. Too wide once again into the final corner. Tim Delisle crossed up. Oh boy, he was lucky he did not get drilled by Alex McKellar there.
Yes, that was a crazy spin, and of course a great, almost getting contact by all 4 cars, but of course they made it through safely, and Tim finishes in 10th.
Yeah, so great racing there. Looking further back, David Pegler into the wall on the last lap. Let's see if we can get a instant replay of that. Go back a bit further. We'll have a look at this. So he's battling with the 27, and the 27, that is Brock Kramer. And let's have a look on the super slow-mo here. Brock on the inside, threw it in. I tell you what, these Fusion Sim Racing boys, they are very confident with the handling. He got a wheel up onto the ripple strip, and then there was an overlap, and David Pegler, he ran over the front wheel of Brock and straight into the wall, and that's where he sat.
Yes, he's tripped over the front right wheel of Brock Kramer, and he finishes in... Yeah, he's in the wall. He's finished in 16th.
Yeah, it's pretty much the end of that. And we can see, can hear someone doing a burnout. Craig Edwards is doing his burnout there, and he's just left the server. But let's go through the final race results here, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver finished. So, having a look at the results, Craig Edwards. Okay, Craig Edwards takes the win, up 5 positions from where he started, and he finished just in front of Gary Hamilton for second. Scott Newton, he got that wobble, but he held on to third. Christopher Oon comes home fourth. Trent Thomas hit the wall in the last corner, cost him a position. He dropped down to fifth. Josh Burden comes home in sixth position, up 5 positions. Alex McKellar, at the moment, the mover of the field, up 7 positions, finishing in 7th. AJ Bear home in 8th. 9th is Joseph Falcamada. Then we had Tim Delisle down 8 positions from where he started, in finishing in 10th. Brock Kramer 11th. Jason Warren, he finishes in 12th. So the biggest mover at the moment, Alex McKellar. Biggest shaker at the moment, Tim Delisle. Scott Pardee comes home in 13th, followed by Tim Awima, up 5 positions. Ewell Dorolampi, he's dropped down 11 positions after that contact, and he retired from the race from what I could tell. David, no he didn't, he did actually finish. David Pegler 16th, 17th Les Peck, 18th Hakon Grebstad, 19th Luke Emerton, and I don't think he did get that car out in the end, and Paul Nelson did not take the field. So biggest shaker, Ewan Norolampi. Biggest mover, Alex McKellar.
Yes, of course, a great race today. Man, the competition was intense, start to finish, and we have, man, it's been a really nice race to have watched.
Oh, it was brilliant. The fastest lap tonight, folks, goes to Gary Hamilton. He did a 1:39.926, the only driver in the whole race in the 1:39s. The rest were in the 1:40s. So, we better get to some interviews, better we? We've got our race winner, Craig Edwards. Let's bring Craig up and we'll have a chat with him. And then we've also got Trent Thomas, and we'll bring him up straight after it. Hi Craig, welcome to the RRTV Combox, mate. We're watching that battle you were having with Gary, Trent, Christopher, and it looked really intense in that last lap. How were you feeling with 1 lap to go? Were you confident you could take that win?
G'day guys, thanks for having me on. I was not feeling very confident because I think there might have been a bit of a netcode incident down into the 3rd last corner on the previous lap. I was very worried that my rear wing wasn't working, and as I got through turn 1 the draft didn't seem to be kicking in, but I just had enough to force the issue down there at the carousel and managed to hang on for the rest of the race. And right now I am a sweaty mess. That was very intense from lap 1 to lap 19, so pretty happy to come out on top though. It's not bad.
No, it was a good win, and I'll tell you what, it was really intense. We saw you guys 3 wide quite a number of times coming into the carousel. How confident were you in the handling of your car and the drivers around you?
Yep, with a lot of downforce on this car, you do have a lot of confidence to run side by side, and the top 5 I was running with tonight, they were all very respectful. So yeah, never had any doubt that if you could tip it into the corner, if there was someone inside you, you'd give them enough room, and they'd do the same. So yeah, we were, had no problems getting through the whole race without touching each other. So yeah, it was very good.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to hand you over to Weehan now, and we'll see if he's got any more questions for you, Craig.
Hi Craig, of course congratulations on your race win tonight. Of course, great driving by yourself as well as your performance today. It's been crazy for us from our point of view, and well, I mean, like Buddy said, there were a lot of times where you guys came very close together, especially at the various corners, that tricky ones as well. So how was it like, you know, having yourself at top speed with so many cars around you, trying to make such a tight moves around you?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, you do have to think probably 4 or 5 seconds ahead of where you're going to be, whether or not you're going to have enough room to make a move, or whether you should be backing out. I saw a lot of people getting good runs, but deciding that they weren't going to come alongside at the right point in the corner and tucking back in. So you do go very fast, but at the same time you're spending a lot of time slowing up and thinking tactically about how the whole race is going to unfold. It's really taxing on the brain, so you spend a lot of time thinking while you're trying to drive flat out at the same time.
Sure, well, it does sound like a lot of hard work there to coordinate all the things like that, and well, I mean, of course, it's been a great drive by yourself tonight. Would like to hand you back to Bernie.
Yeah, fantastic driving, Craig. Before we let you go and we take a big risk in letting Trent into our combox, do you want to give a shout out to your sponsors?
Yeah, no problem. Our sponsors, Dynamic Sim Racing, Eclipse Signage, and Dripping Paint Graphics, came up big again tonight. Got a little bit more of a gap in the championship lead, and yeah, doing the Fusion Sim Racing team proud. Very happy.
Yeah, it's all about getting that gap, isn't it? Because I tell you what, we looked at the first to third in qualifying. They were all separated, like first to second was like 4 thousandths of a second. Second to third was separated by about 9 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew qualifying was going to be tight, but also not too important. If I was a little bit cutthroat on the opening lap, I could get to where I needed to be, and played out nicely.
Yeah, it certainly did. But anyway, Craig, go and pop that champagne, mate. Go and have a great time, and we'll see you next week. Not sure. Let's have a look at where we're going. Next week, it looks like we're off to Monza.
Oh, another draft track. Should be similar kind of intense racing. Looking forward to it.
No worries. All right. Thanks a lot, Craig. We'll catch you later, mate.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, folks, it's that time of the night. Lock up your daughters and your sheep, I don't know, because it's time to bring up the big, the loud Trent Thomas.
Well, do I have to be of legal age?
Oh, he's all right.
Yeah, let's go.
Hi Trent, we're just giving you the most amazing intro you'll ever hear, mate, but welcome to the Combox, mate. Having a look there, 4th position, you're in the mix there between the top 4 all night, but you were saying you just lost a bit of momentum in that last lap.
Yeah, I was sort of just biding my time, trying to just hang back while I let the other guys in front of me sort of swap and change position. I certainly didn't have the confidence to be driving the way they were, so I sort of sat back, and then I just thought, I'll get to the third last lap and I'll see how I go. I'll get to the second last, and I thought, there's a move here. I think I passed, I can't remember who it was now, on the second last lap, got me into 4th place, and then coming into the last lap, had a bit of a run at the guys. They had a moment and I had a moment, lost the rear end, and it sort of lost any chance of making a run for the win. But coming out to the last corner as well, I slammed the wall quite hard with the left-hand side of the car, and Christopher got the pass done, so I slipped to 5th, unfortunately, by the tiniest of margins.
Yeah, and we're just having a look at you on the screen in that last lap. But I was going to ask you about that last corner. As you were saying, you hit that wall pretty hard. Do you know what caused that? Did you just misjudge, or did the car actually get a bit loose on you?
I knew Christopher was on the outside, so I was making sure I left him some room, so the turn-in was quite tight. So yeah, I was just carrying too much speed for the line that I was taking. So I ended up pushing a little bit out to the left, to the exit of the corner, clipped the wall. Luckily enough, the car was still straight enough I could still continue, and managed to keep that top 5 position.
Yeah, I was worried when I saw you hit that wall that you're not going to hold on to it, but we're just having a look at the action here on the last lap, and I'll tell you what, talk about on the edge of my seat action here. Once again, the Pro Mazdas are turning it on. What do you think of the closeness of this racing? Is this exactly what you're looking for when you guys put this series together?
Yeah, definitely. And it's good being able to race with the same respectful guys week in, week out, knowing that you can race close and they're not going to chop you, they're not going to sort of make it hard, and if they know a move's risky, they'll back out. And I think Craig touched on it as along the same lines, is that you knew you could go side by side with these guys because you knew they'd leave you room if you left them room. So it was really, really good, respectful racing, and I think it makes for the best kind. And I hope the viewers were enjoying that, and anyone who is interested in joining and coming and racing, they can be a part of it too. So this is exactly what we wanted to achieve from this series.
Yeah, well, it's an absolutely fantastic series, and because it's a fixed setup series, it encourages this close racing, as you were saying. And yeah, if anyone wants to get involved, folks, go over to, I think it's the Australian New Zealand Road Racing Forum, and they can also probably direct message you on iRacing.
Yep, definitely. There's a thread there. There's also one in the Pro Mazda section, and I threw up another one in the league hosted section as well, just to sort of cover all bases, make sure anyone who wanted to know about it did and can come along and join us.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you what, it's a big success, because you had 19 out there, actually 10 in the server, but Paul Nelson I don't think made the start. And we also had our in-car reporter, and that was Luke Emerton, but unfortunately he retired in lap 12 when he binned it, to the point where he was hopefully could get back in the car, but it was at a 45-degree angle with both wheels stuck up in the air.
Yeah, no, that's not good. No, I did see him join the server, and it was great to have him in there, and then I did see him disconnect, and I thought, oh, that's a bit of a shame. So I hope he enjoyed his time while he was out there, though.
Oh, he absolutely loved it. One thing, though, that he was astounded with, and you might want to make a comment on this, was the phenomenal downforce the Pro Mazda has. He was trying to get his head around it, because he's normally a GT3 driver. Can you elaborate much on this downforce? Because it seems to me like massive.
Yeah, it has a lot of grip. Like, pretty much in this car, from the start-finish straight, you're pretty much... Well, actually, you got to brake for turn 1, but it's more of a dab of the brake, and then you're flat from there up through the S's. You're almost flat through the carousel, a slight lift, and a lot of corners where you think you might have to lift. You really just flat out the whole way. So the setup we're using, obviously, it's fixed set, so we tried to make it a little bit friendlier for newer guys, and even some of the seasoned guys. They like the setup. It's not something they'd normally drive, because to be fast, usually in the official series, you need something with low downforce so that you can get those high speeds on the straights. But yeah, a lot of the guys loving the amount of downforce this car has, and the way you can just throw it around, and the grip that you have through the corners. It can take your head a little bit to get around. You just got to throw it in and hope it sticks. And yeah, that's the sort of faith you need to have in the car.
Yeah, well, we were following one of the drivers there, and having a look when they got into the carousel. They were drafting at 220 kilometres an hour. They hit it at 5th, and they dropped to 202 kilometres an hour through the carousel. Normally in a GT3, you're braking and basically going down the gears, waiting for the car to float out. But these things are just on rails. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I was actually, the start of that race, I was struggling to actually stay on the back of the lead pack. And I thought the only way I'm going to be able to keep up with these guys is during the pit stops. And I think I had a reasonably good pit stop. And it actually put me out towards the front of that battle pack that I was at the back of, which sort of then kept me in the mix a little bit. And yeah, the downforce, the drafting that these things have, it's because of that downforce. And yeah, it's such a fun, intense style of racing, but you really do need to rely on the other guys around you to give you that respect in that space, and that's what that top group was doing tonight, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly was. And before I let you go, though, Trent, we did have Craig give a shout out to all your sponsors, but it's your turn now. And did you want to reiterate all the sponsors? I'm going to tick them off to see if I remember them all.
Yeah, certainly will. Eclipse Signage, Dynamic Sim Racing, and Dripping Paint Graphics. Thanks to them guys for all the help that they give us. Shout out to Craig as well, the fact that he missed his pit box. I just wanted to put that out there so everybody knew that.
Okay, no worries. Good on you. All right, Trent, go and celebrate with your teammate who beat you tonight, and that's Craig.
Thanks a lot, Bernie. I'll catch you later.
All right, see you, mate. Okay, Weehan, our final interview tonight is with Scott Newton, and I'll bring him up. He came home, I think, in second, even though the overlay says he won. Did you want to start off the interview?
Yep, sure, let's go. Hi Scott, welcome to the comms box tonight. Of course, finishing in third yourself tonight. Congrats on that. Tell us more about your race tonight.
Hey Wahan. Yeah, definitely got a solid start from the pole position. Definitely didn't expect that, given my pace in practice. It's a car that I don't normally drive, the Pro Mazda, so it's always good to get one up on the likes of Gary and Craig that more often than not drive this car. But yeah, got a solid start into turn one, but yeah, just with the power of the draft, I was probably second or third by the end of turn 5 into the carousel. And yeah, pretty much just close quarter racing pretty much the whole race.
Yes, it was a very close quarter racing throughout the race, and I mean we've been able to see quite a lot of exchanges of positions between the first and fifth. I mean, you guys were moving between the positions like crazy, trying to make moves here and there in every corner. So was it a hectic race for you? I mean, of course it was a crazy race, but how to say, the sort of the competition from your perspective, how was it in a sense?
Yeah, it definitely felt like a 4K plus SOF. Guys at the front were really, really strong. Thankfully, the draft was powerful enough for me to at least be able to stay with them. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say, more beneficial to at least draft up until the end of the carousel. But yeah, definitely not to go too wide through the twisty sections, because that will cost you a load of time. But yeah, coming up to the pit stop phase, pitted one lap probably earlier than I could have. But yeah, I saw that Trent was coming out of the pit lane and yeah, taking the normal line. You just carry so much speed in there, and didn't see where he was, but I was in the spot I called right, and yeah, I had to shout him a bit sometime after that little scare. But yeah, just with the closing laps, I knew that Gary was going to catch me, along with Craig. Just their draft battling was enabling them to catch back up, and yeah, it was just so good to have that close quarter battling. But it was unfortunate that I got a bit of netcode damage with about 3 or 4 corners to go. I probably would have had a solid chance of finishing at least second. But yeah, unfortunately, that was what undid that today.
Yes, quite disappointing for the last part, of course, because I mean, I'm just looking at the timing differences. Of course, all 5 of you guys finished within a second of one another. It could have been anyone who would have won, but of course, a great job nonetheless tonight. I'm sure you all have done well and have had a lot of fun trying to fight it out throughout the race. And Bernie, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Scott. I noticed last couple of laps, maybe 3 laps, the car looked a little bit unsettled at places. How were the tyres going on your car?
The tyres felt pretty good, but yeah, it's more the fact that I'm not used to the downshifting on this car, because with the Formula Renault it has a an automatic like a limiter, so it prevents you from downshifting too many times. Whereas with the Pro Mazda, it doesn't seem to have that feature, and it was catching me out a few times with probably about 5 or 6 to go. So that's probably what cost me a lot more time than it normally would have. But yeah, the tyres throughout the whole race were pretty much consistent throughout the whole time. So yeah, it was more also the downshift rather than the tyres throughout the race.
Yeah, and apart from the automatic downshift on the Renault, how different are they to the Pro Mazda as far as performance and handling goes? Just to give the viewers a bit of an idea.
In terms of downforce level, the Pro Mazda has it in spades, but not as much as the FW31, which is a car that I drove like probably a couple of years ago around this track. So you definitely got a lot of confidence going through all of the bends, braking a little bit later than the Formula Renault as well. So yeah, that's where it has a bit of an advantage. But also with the fixed setup, it kind of hinders it a little bit with the fact that the sixth gear is a little bit taller than normal. But obviously that aids the overtaking as well. So the setup is so it's a bit of swings and roundabouts really with in terms of it being between fixed and open set. But yeah, it's great that Trent puts the series on, and I want to congratulate him on that. And it's always great to support the series as well. Original competitor in SMAC as well, so it's always good to come back and race the Pro Mazda once in a while.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we let you go, anyway, Scott, do you want to give a shout out to your sponsors? Not sure if you heard me, Scott.
Hello?
We might have lost Scott Newton there, folks. He is racing for Apex Racing UK. Okay, so I think we've lost Scott there, folks. So anyway, Weehan, before we get going, any final thoughts on tonight's racing?
My thoughts. Wow, I think this is the single craziest race I've ever seen. I mean, competition between cars here and there. Oh, it's been great.
Yeah, they definitely turn it on. You know, this is exactly what this series is about. It's about drivers getting in and having very, very close racing, all having the same chance of winning, and it really comes down to driver talent at the end of the night, and that's exactly what we saw once again tonight.
Yes, absolutely. I think the series, of course, the series organizers, they've managed to sort of make use of these kind of factors to just make a competition style that's been so competitive and really not only being fun for the drivers and also fun for us viewers to watch. And that's what that's what I think most of us would really look for.
Yeah, exactly right. So anyway, folks, that was round 4 here of the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and of course it's called that because of the rotary. So not sure what that says. Okay, we'll ignore that for a moment. But looking at the week ahead here, folks, so basically we'll just bring Scott up and just see if we can talk to him now. Hang on a minute. Hi Scott, sorry about that, mate. You want to give a shout out to all your sponsors?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just had a blister and a death, so luckily I was able to jump back in quickly. But yeah, definitely like to thank the sponsors of Apex Racing UK, JCL Sim Racing, Leo Bodner, Sim Steering, Simputers PC Systems, and SDK Gaming as well.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, we'll see you next week, mate. I think we're going to Monza.
Yeah, definitely another draft track, so should be an exciting race.
Definitely. All right, mate. We'll catch you next week.
No, it's cheers, fellas.
So yeah, as I was saying, folks, looking at the week ahead, there's a lot of action here on RRTV. Starting tomorrow night, we have the NASCAR trucks back, and that's at 8:25 p.m. GMT plus 11, and they're going to Martinsville Speedway. So that promises to be an action-packed night of the NASCAR trucks, and I'll have Steve Hoppett up with me in the comm box. He's not racing this week, so he will be calling all the action with me tomorrow night. Then, of course, Friday night, 9:15 p.m. GMT plus 11, we're actually going to Snetterton for another 60-60 sprint race. And if you haven't seen V8 supercars doing 16-lap sprint races, like 53 of them, tune in Friday night, because it's going to be crazy. It might be a smaller field because, of course, the Bathurst 1000 is on this weekend, and a lot of people will be making that pilgrimage. But that's 9:15 p.m. Friday night. Then Alex McCullough will be back with me on Saturday night. We will be broadcasting the final round of the World's Fastest Gamer qualifier, Australia-New Zealand split. That will be coming to you from Interlagos. We'll also go through the point score at that point, so you can see who's in the box seat for winning that position to be invited to the finals of the World's Fastest Gamer. And then Sunday night we'll be back once again for the Australasian Super Skips round 2. We're going to Road Atlanta, and that kicks off 8:45 p.m. Sunday night, GMT plus 11. So a lot of action here on RRTV over the coming nights, and hopefully we'll have you come and join us. So Wehan, thanks once again, mate, for coming in and joining me with the commentary. I'm glad you had a great time. It's always a pleasure having you up here, mate, and so thanks for jumping in.
Sure, it's been my pleasure calling the action with you tonight. Of course, I got a bit more tongue-tied than usual, but it's all fun, and we were all having a great time. Of course, this series, absolutely loved the racing there, and yeah, it's all good.
Fantastic. Well, you can now go and rest and have your lemon tea or whatever you have to rest your voice. And anyway, folks, it's at that time of the night where we say good night to you. So thanks once again for joining us. We hope you've had a great time with us tonight watching the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and we definitely look forward to your company hopefully tomorrow night. But if you can't make it, hopefully you'll have a great work week, and we'll catch up with you soon. So on behalf of Chan Wee Han, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for watching RRTV, and I better find my closing credits, and we'll catch you next time in hopefully tomorrow night. Good night.